to the third edition of the Thursday Talk. We'll start by a word of prayer from Jonathan Juguna.
Thank you. Good evening and praise God. So let us begin with a word of prayer. Our dear Heavenly Father, we are humbled to be in your presence this evening, dear Lord, with thanksgiving in our hearts and much gratitude for this opportunity that you've presented to us to be administered to this evening, dear Lord. Please, O Lord, be with the entire session from start to end. From the beginning, O Lord Jehovah, bless it, and may you be with each and every one of us. Make our hearts ready to listen to what will be told. And for your servants that have come to administer to us this evening, we thank you, and may you bless them and give them the strength to share what you've intended us to hear this evening, dear Lord. We thank you, and we pray that your will may be done. And may we embrace the message that we are going to receive fully for the glory and honor of your holy name. This I pray, believing and trusting in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you very much. You may take your seats.
How many items do you have? Just one or two? One.
Silas. Our guest today is John Gachora. Our name is just to welcome you all. But before we do that, for our health club. This is not my day. And we have our guest today. And I would like just to put some hand together and welcome our chief principal, who eventually invite our chief guest. Thank you. Please once again, welcome the chief.
Chief guest this evening, Mr. John Gachora, accompanied by a team from his workstation, the NCBA, and also your classmate, Mr. James Absaloms. We are delighted the old boys present, both those from those area years and those who just left recently. My colleague teachers, students, good evening. God is good, and all the times. As observed, this is our third Thursday evening talk for the year. We are delighted that we are joined by captains of industry who have made a mark in their chosen fields, and it's only fair that we don't take much time so that we can hear from them. And of course, as we apologize, we are starting slightly after the appointed hour, but at least I think we even started slightly earlier than what we did the other time. And of course, we thank you, school, for your cooperation. I wish to invite everyone to this talk, and those possibly who are also joining us on virtual platforms. We appreciate your coming to be part and parcel of this tradition of Alliance High School, where those who are in practice, those who are in the field, those professionals come and share their experience, all their experiences with the ongoing students, as a way of challenging the students to also look high and think big in terms of who they shall finally be. Of course, we are delighted that today we are one of the old boys coming to give us a talk. As much as he shall be introduced, or he shall introduce himself, I can just mention that our guest today is Mr. John Gachora, class of 1989, school number 4743, Smith House. By training, up to and including a master's degree in electrical engineering. Seemed later on he got a fancy in banking, has an MBA, Master of Business Administration, and has worked in the financial sector for a lengthy period of time, both in the United States. Or I should have mentioned that the master's degree in electrical engineering was from your very prestigious place you all dream of, that is MIT. And with that experience in the US, he worked in the US for about 15 years, then came to Africa and joined the Absa Bank in South Africa, stayed in South Africa for a while, joined the Barclays Bank, came back to Kenya, worked with Barclays Bank before joining the CBA, Commercial Bank of Africa, and on CBA merging with NIC to form the NCBA, he became the Group Managing Director. That is the person who will be talking to us today. We couldn't have asked for a better candidate for our talk. So that we may be in phase, I would like to invite the Secretary of the Old Boys Club, who is here with us, Mr. Sterling Mushiri, to come. Of course, we know we organize this together with the Old Boys Club, and so I would like to invite him to come introduce his colleague Old Boys who are here. Quite a number who have joined us, and then usher in our guest speaker. Karibu Bwana Stannis.
Thank you, Principal, our chief guest for today. I will ask by cohorts, by a show of hands, the ones who finished in 1960s, do you have any who finished 1960s? 1970s? Thank you, Engineer, Captain, Engineer Muta. 1980s? Watson Karabibu, right? Absaloms, and of course our chief guest for today, John Gachora. 1990s? Giffy Combo, thank you. Any other from the 1990s? We have an accusation from the 1990s. Charity Mangi. Charity Mangi, say something.
Good evening to the school principal, to the chief principal, and all the other guests and the school at large. Good evening. This is an ambush. I'm happy to be here. I'm an old girl at, you say across, we call you across. I was there in 1999, we were the same year, and I'm happy to be here. I'm a spy. I want to know how you're doing it, then perhaps I can share with the girls on the other side. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
A clap for Charity. 2000s. 2000s. Makofi. 20, I know we have quite a number from 2014. 2014, 2015, 2016, anyone else from the 2010 and thereafter? Billy Nakawa, thank you very much. And then, last but not least, class of 2020. Anyone from 2021? Lastly, from the class of 2022, where are you? It's a great pleasure to be here. For us, it's like being home again. Thank you, Bwana Principal. And now it is my honor and pleasure to invite our chief guest for today, John Gachora, school number 4743, class of 1989, Smith House, 19A. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Stallings. The Chief Principal, Mr. Kamau, the Deputy Principal, Mr. Karemi, the organizer who reached out to me, Fidelis. I have a story about Fidelis in a second. All the old boys present, the staff present, students, good evening. Good evening again. It's really a pleasure to be back here with you. Can you all hear me? Yeah, you can all hear me. It's a great pleasure to be back here. I was waiting for Charity to tell us how to sing, isn't it? Yeah? To tell us how to talk to the girls from across. I thought she'd spend a bit more time to tell us that. So Charity may call me to just speak a little bit about that. But really a pleasure to be back here. It's been very many years, as you heard. I left in 1989. Yeah? 1989, and it's really great to be here giving this Thursday, what's called the Thursday evening talk. It's been a great Alliance tradition to do the Thursday evening talk. And before I proceed, let me do some introductions because I'm going to talk a little about my time here, and I want some colleagues here who will be doing some fact checking to be known, isn't it? So let me just do a quick introduction. Let me start with, from NCBA, the colleagues I'm with today, so you can stand up. I brought two colleagues from NCBA. I'm trying to see if anybody else came. Three colleagues. You see from the left side, it's a gentleman. If I mention your name, you lift your hand. Sandro Moya. Sandro is, please clap for him. Sandra is actually a university student in California who is visiting us to work during the US summer break. So he's here it's his very first visit to Kenya ever. So please do show him a bit of hospitality. Thank you, Sandra. Next to Sandra is Suzanne Muturi. Boys, come and behave, huh? Suzanne Muturi, she is my executive assistant, so we work together. She did go to a club. She went to Senior Chief Konange back in the day, so. Suzanne, you can sit down. And lastly is my colleague who is doing the photography. So thank you, please clap for them. I also want to say that tonight is going to be a bit different because I want some of the colleagues I was with here to also say something, isn't it? So let me reintroduce my classmates, James Jr. Absaloms. So I'll ask him to come and talk a bit about himself, amazing personality. And of course, when we went to school here, when we left in 1989, it's also the first year, the first 844 left, okay? First 844 was in 1989. And in that class was a gentleman who just got introduced, Mr. Watson Karagadu, who, he was my rabbi back in the day, so we'll also have him say a couple of words. So when Fidelis reached out to me, she sent me a note on WhatsApp about talking today, yeah? And I didn't come back actually for a while because I was traveling. I was in China last week and I didn't come back to her until very late. But then I think on Sunday she called me, or on Monday she called me. And I was very surprised. I was expecting a guy from Fulham to be calling me, so warm to me, and obviously surprised when I had the beautiful voice of Fidelis. So it's really a pleasure to meet her. It's really a pleasure to meet her and to be here with you today. So the Thursday evening talk, just reflecting on it a little bit. Actually, this, as I said, has been a great tradition of Alliance. And indeed, I think my colleague, my friends back then will recall that when we were here, it was stopped for a period of time. Okay? And it was stopped because at that time it was under a different regime. When a gentleman called Daniel, or a boy, it was a one-party state, so we didn't have all these parties you hear about, UDA, ODM. We had one party called KANU back in the day, yeah? And so we had a gentleman called Mr. Emmanuel Noike. He is also an old boy. He's late now. He's an old boy of Alliance, also an old boy of MIT. So it's quite interesting that I'm giving this speech tonight. When he came to speak to us that time, he was a bit critical of government that evening. But unbeknown to us, within the student body, there are people who are reporting to the National Intelligence Service. So they reported back what he had said, and the following day it was a headline what he had said at Alliance during Thursday evening talk, and immediately he was demoted. He was, I think, assistant minister then, he was demoted. And the gentleman who was hosting him that day, the same way Fidel is hosting me tonight, was a gentleman called, we used to call him Contra, who was a European who had been here for many years, and I believe he's buried here, Overwatch. You've seen the grave of Overwatch. So the following day, Reverend Watch got special branch, then we used to call them, which is an IS, and he was asked to leave the country immediately. Okay? So since then, I think until we left Absalom's, there was no Thursday talk. So I'm glad that it's been back, it's been given, and that's why I'm excited to be back here with you. So a little bit about my journey. I think I was asked to share my journey. You've heard a little bit about it. I came to Alliance, like most of you, from a small village called Kamahindu. It's in Kiambu somewhere. I know most of you cannot pronounce that name. And that back then we were few. The whole school, I believe, were about 600 of us. We understand we're approaching 2,000 students. When I arrived here, having come from a village school where even though we had been learning English, we mostly speak in our mother tongue, we mostly spoke in our mother tongue, I get here and you meet people from all walks of life. Fantastic people, fantastic classmates who had gone to fantastic schools from Nairobi and elsewhere, who spoke what I call the Queen's English, right? And I remember, I've never forgotten, that when I came and my language, my accent was absolutely terrible. Most people could not understand me. Anybody can read it? Yeah? You can read it? Just the excitement of the food that Alliance was offering us. Just the excitement, the uniform. The fact that I wear shoes every day to go to class. I had come from a school where you didn't have to wear shoes to go to school. Was exciting. But the one thing I quickly learned is that Alliance is both an equalizer and not an equalizer. What does that mean? That having come from that school and having done well before I came here from my primary school, I met people who are smarter, better organized, knew more, and were more ambitious than I thought I was, isn't it? Have you found that? When you came to Alliance, that's what you find, isn't it? And most of us take it as a wonderful challenge. And that is what makes Alliance special, that you meet such people. And I'll tell you a few stories about my time at Alliance that have shaped who I am. So my journey at Alliance, as I said, I was here between 1984 to 1989. In 1988, I was selected to the exchange program. I don't know if it still exists. Do you, principal? No? We used to have an exchange program with a school in the US called Brooks, and every year we'd send 2 students to represent school. And when I was after Form 4, we then did Form 5 and 6. So in Form 5, I was sent to Brooks to represent Alliance with a friend of mine called Peter, who was my classmate. And it's while I was there that I visited MIT. I learned very quickly about MIT, came back, got a lot of help from the teachers to apply to MIT, going to MIT, and so I actually left before I finished my education here. So I could say I'm an last dropout, because I never actually finished. Yeah? But I hope you can still listen to me. Is it okay? Can you listen to a school dropout? Are we together? Yeah? So after MIT, very quickly, I went to work in Wall Street, worked in Wall Street for many years, and it was from there that I was recruited to come to South Africa by what was then Barclays, which owned ABSA. That's why we heard I worked in ABSA. From there, I was recruited to come to Kenya to be the CEO of, just to correct the principal, such a CEO of NIC. And this is after the former President Uhuru Kenyatta appointed the previous CEO, James Macharia, to be CS for roads. And that's when I came in for transport and roads. That's when I was appointed to be CEO of NIC. And upon the merger to create NCBA, I became the group CEO for NCBA. So that's sort of really quickly my journey, but I'll talk about the anecdotes for the story today. So today I've been asked to talk about careers and what the world looks like. What do you think about? What should you worry about? And how does my own life inform your own aspirations? As I said, as I talk, I'll also ask some of those two classmates of mine to come and say a few words as well. First of all, let me start by saying this week I was at a dinner where we were hosting a professor from the US and another who has written very many books. And the topic of conversation was actually about artificial intelligence, something this professor has studied for years and written about. Something he said is that the world is going to be extremely different in the very near future. He is 61 years old, so we asked him, knowing what you know about artificial intelligence, knowing what you know about AI, and AI is, today there are many versions, but AI is this thing that have been built, right, that really mimics the smartest person on earth, isn't it? We've heard about it. It will do the exams better than all of you. It will even pass the medical exam. It's become a better lawyer than everybody else. Yeah? We've heard about it, isn't it? So we're talking about AI, and he was saying, so he was asked, what would you worry about? And he said, at 61, and being a professor, I have nothing to worry about because I can spend the rest of my life writing about AI. Okay? But he said, if I was younger, I would be extremely worried because many things will change. Many things will change. So when I was thinking about tonight, what can I tell you? The first thing I'll tell you is, whatever you hear about career today will change. Are you okay with that? Whatever you hear about career will change. That's the first thing. The second thing, and very important, is because of that, and also because of your age, you should not know what you want to be when you grow up. Can I repeat that? You should not know what you want to be when you do what? When you grow up. Yeah? Because a lot of things will change, first of all. Even I thought I'd be an engineer. You can see now I'm not an engineer, isn't it? You will meander over life. And as the late founder of Apple, Steve Jobs, said, life, the dots of life connect backwards, never forwards, yeah? You can never predict the dots forward, but wherever you are, when you look back, you can connect the dots. I'm sure even for you sitting here today, you don't know where you will be, isn't it? But you can explain very well how you got here, isn't it? So the dots connect really well backwards. What I can tell you is this, that because you don't know what you will be, the best you can do in your life is enjoy what you are doing today. The best you can do is do what? enjoy what you're doing today. So when I came to Alliance, so when I was in primary school, very young, I was asked, what do you want to be? And you know, those days, I think we still do, used to write comprehension, isn't it? What do you want to do when you grow up? I still remember my comprehension when I must have been standard 6. And I wrote real long comprehension about how I wanted to be an engineer. And then I went ahead to explain what an engineer did. And at that point, in my wonderful imagination, what an engineer did was drive a train. Okay? So I don't want to be an engineer so I can drive trains. I don't know from where, because the closest machine that I had seen, the biggest machine I had seen was the train, isn't it? You're as knowledgeable as you're exposed. That's what I had written. I come to Alliance and I meet extremely smart people who also want to be engineers. And I start learning from them that being an engineer is not about driving trains. Yeah? And then I realized that actually I was so different from everybody that was in my class. Yeah? Did you feel that? You're so different when you landed here. You feel you're so different from everybody in your class. You feel like, as I said, you're smarter than you. Okay? You feel like they speak English better than you do. And actually for me they did. You start on the journey to be the best that you can be at Alliance. And let me tell you a little bit about my journey of being the best that can be at Alliance. In Form 1, when I arrived, as I said, having come from Kamahindu, spoke with a very strong accent, terrible accent I must say, and we had inter-house competition, or what we call talent competition. And at that, I gathered confidence and said, I'm going to, from my house I was going to recite a poem. And obviously I crammed the poem very well, and in the school hall, so it was a Saturday evening, I get on stage and I decide to recite a poem in this competition. It was the same poem for all of us. The poem went like this, yeah? I shall tell you, shall I? Something I remember. Something from a long time ago. It was a cold winter, I remember. So I get on stage, then I continued, yeah? The rest of the poem, I don't remember all of it. When I get on stage, this boy who had just come from the village, and I put my hands in the pocket very comfortably, and I speak with the loudest voice that I could possibly speak with my wonderful accent from the village. And I still remember what I said that day. I said, I shall tell you, shall I? And the whole hall burst out laughing like he just did, isn't it? Yeah? And that was my introduction to the whole school of Alliance. That was my introduction to the whole school of Alliance. Then you start on your self-improvement journey. And that's how my journey began. My second anecdote of self-improvement was in Form 3. So when we get into Form 3, we would be selected or would elect the people who are going to lead the various clubs. This is the Junior Geographical Society, the Debating Society, all that. Huh? And I had been a very good agriculture student. Again, coming from the village, I thought agriculture must be part of me. So I went and became chairman of the Young Farmers Club. You can see there are few in the room, huh? Became chairman of the Young Farmers Club. And I remember when I went home, and I told my father that I had now gotten to really settle at Alliance, known, I campaigned enough, I became chairman of a club. He said, which one? And I said, now I'm the proud chairman of the Young Farmers Club. And I remember my father looking at me and saying, you went to Alliance from the farm to become the chairman of Young Farmers Club. No offense to those who are doing Young Farmers Club, yeah? It's a wonderful thing to do. But my father, who was doing school, then said something profound. And he said, when I look at you, I see a future leader. And what leaders do is talk to people. Don't you have a debating club? That's what he asked me. Don't you have a debating club? So I want to challenge you. I was challenged by my father. He said, actually, if you're going to be a future leader, the one thing you should learn from school is communication. Is what? Communication. And so that was a big lesson of self-improvement. But the one thing you must learn from school is communication. And I took that to heart. So when I came back to school, I started attending Junior Debating Society. I started doing a lot more with the various societies, being very active in my house to make sure that I improve on my communication skills. And so what I'm telling you is this, that no matter the change in career in life, no matter how much AI will dominate our lives, human communication will always win. Okay? The best paid people in the world are salespeople. Do you all agree? Yeah? You were there last year during elections, right? You were around, you watched some of the campaigns, hopefully here and there. What was the winning strategy? It was, we have a president who is a damn good salesman, isn't it? Isn't it? He sold an idea. He sold an idea that most of us perhaps do not understand, still don't understand, called the hustler idea, but he sold it. So sales is perhaps your best skill you'll ever have in life. But to be a good salesperson, you must have good communication. And so in my journey of life, one of the things I've always done is to try to be a better salesman every day. How do I sell more? How do I communicate more? And I can tell you today I spend most of my time communicating. So, I think the other thing I wanted to say tonight, as I said, I didn't want to give a speech because I wanted to speak from the heart, is that even as you go through Alliance, one of the things that stood out for me was the ability of Alliance to instill certain values and character. And nothing will ever replace good values and character, my friends, no matter what. And what are those good values and character? The things we are told at Alliance, yeah? There's some things we all failed at, yeah? I don't know if you still use the word deserving. We're in the kitchen, we are here. You still use the word deserving, yeah? Do you? So I must confess as a deserver, huh? Let me just confess that. Anybody else here want to confess? Confess, huh? But, so, those are not bad values, to tell you the truth, right? Those are not necessarily bad values. Bad values are dishonesty. Bad values is that you don't do what you say you're going to do, okay? And good values are integrity, it's honesty, it's being ethical. It's that you can be trusted. So no matter what happens in life, those good values are important. And how do you know good values? When do you feel you have good values? So one time when I was in Form 5, I think, when we'd come back in Form 5 and we had to bring hockey sticks, each person had to bring hockey sticks, you had to bring tennis racket, you had to bring all these things, isn't it? So I brought my hockey stick and it got lost as soon as I arrived. I don't know how. So we were called to the parade and we were being asked, has everybody brought everything they brought? And I remember lying to the teacher then saying, yes, I have my hockey stick. A lie that I had, my hockey stick. Now, that's a lie. And that's the only time I remember at Alliance where I was completely dishonest. No, 2 times. But I can tell you the 2 times I was dishonest, I've never forgotten. Because when you're an honest person, when you have integrity, the few moments of infractions you always remember. So when people ask me, what does honesty mean? Just look back and say, what are those moments when you're dishonest and you know what honesty means? Can I tell you when I was dishonest? Yeah? Only other time I was dishonest was after Form 4, having done exams. Back then the way we used to score was the top 6 subjects in Form 4. So you could do 7, 8, 9 subjects, but we'd only take the first best 6, huh? And the way they would be rated would be 1 to 9, 1 being the best, and 9 being the worst, yeah? So if you did really well, then you get how many points? Anybody listening? How many points? 6. So you get 1 in every subject, isn't it? But they don't pick how many subjects? 6. Okay, so the best students would score 6. Those are what we call the A students now, and so on, 6, 7, 8, like that. Huh? So I was one of the students who got 6 points during my time. Now, but that's not the point I wanted to make. The point I wanted to make was when I came back, yeah? Now, let me go back a little bit. My history teacher, who happens to still be my very good friend, knew me as the best student in history throughout the time that he taught us. To the point where sometimes he'd actually leave me to teach the class that I was in. Okay? So I thought I was pretty good in history. And so I come back, and he sees me and he says, well, how have you done? You've done really well. And he's there with the math teacher. And the math teacher is very proud, saying this was one of the best students, definitely got a 1 in math, did very well. The history teacher then says, of course he also got a 1 in history. Then he asked me, did you get a 1 in history? And I said, yes, I did. The reality was I got in a 2. I got in a what? A 2. But I was too embarrassed to say I did not get a 1 because I was his best student during that time. Okay? Now, those 2 instances that I've told you about have never left me. Because those are 2 instances I remember very well where I was dishonest. And it's from that moment, knowing that has never left me, I still think about them, that today I try to be very honest so I don't have to remember other instances. So even for you, if there's anything that is important, my friends, it's about value of honesty. I want to quickly say, and I'll come back with some of the lessons, key points I make, but I wanted to say, what would I do if I came back to where you are today? What would I do? So you'd ask, isn't it? What would I do? One is make a lot of friends. This is important. Make a lot of friends. Your best friends will be from high school. That I can assure you. I think the old boys here will all agree. Your best friends will be from high school. Make a close-knit group of friends. Very important. The second very important point, or learning from at least the lessons that I took away, was be very close to your teachers. They'll be very important to recommend you in future. You know, when you're going through school, you think, these teachers, once I'm done, I'll go to university, forget about them. Trust me, we all go back to our teachers to ask for recommendations. And our own employers still call our teachers to say, do you remember John Gachora? How was he? So be close to your teachers. Make sure when you leave, there's 1, 2, 3 teachers whose names you can mention and ask your employers, your friends to call back for references. Isn't it? Yeah, very important. You also what happened in Nairobi last year during the elections, huh? Our current governor, Johnson Sakaja, was running, isn't it? But he couldn't prove he went to. Do you remember that? He couldn't prove he went to university. Do you remember that? He was asked to bring 3 friends he was with the university. He couldn't bring a single one. Yeah? Don't be that guy who is asked to bring somebody you went to school with, and you cannot bring a person in your school or a teacher. Okay? So that's the second lesson. That lesson is have fun. Have a good time. Don't believe the hype of having to study until midnight and waking up at 2 to continue studying. Sleep. Sleep if you can. Okay? Sleep, my friends. Because when you start working, you have no time to sleep. Let me tell you that. If you're waiting to sleep when you start working, that's a lie. Sleep now, okay? Are we clear? Do what? Sleep now. Then finally, learn those skills that are not academic. Swimming, sports, music. The things that today we run away from because we are so focused on academics, please do them. Yeah? When the opportunity presents you. I'm at an age where I wish that I learned piano when I had the opportunity to learn it when I was young. I'm at an age where I've had to learn swimming much later in life, a lot more difficult thing to do than I should have done when I was your age. Yeah? So learn these skills early. And that's what will make a difference in life, in your future. So I have many other things to say, but I thought I'll give opportunity to my classmate to tell us a little bit about his journey as well. I don't know whether I introduce you or you introduce yourself. James Juma Absaloms. Let me just say one thing about James Juma Absaloms. He was the entertainment prefect when I was here. He played every sport. He was a captain in soccer, he was a captain in rugby, he was a captain in hardball, he was a captain in basketball. Yeah? After Alliance, he went to play for Kenya, both in 15s and 7s, international. He represents Kenya in the World Rugby Federation. And the only Kenyan, and I should say East and Central African, to ever be a citing commissioner in World Rugby, in World Cup Rugby. So I've talked about the sports and we'll talk about the other stuff. So welcome, James.
Good evening. At this spot, I remember standing here several times to make announcements and requesting people to meet me outside the dining hall after grace. Yeah, as John has said, my names are James Juma Absaloms and school number 4715, Francis House 17B. And I think a small correction, he was almost right in everything he said, apart from the one thing that he said, I was not the captain of the basketball team, but everything else that he said is correct. So what John has taken us through, he's talked about a lot of things that happened to him. Some of the things that he said, such as talking about his terrible accent. I will very shyly say that I did not notice that in all the time that we interacted with John, from the time he was in first form. And that tells us something, that when you get into a society such as the one that you're in, Alliance High School, you tend to look more at what value someone has rather than what are his characteristics. Those become less important, and that is a way, is one of the things that you should develop in life. Do you like someone's ideas? Do you like his principles? Do you admire the way he does things? Rather than, does he look like what a superstar should look like? Those things are transient, they change, and are not very important. And one other thing that was said as well is that you need to arm yourself. He didn't say it in so many words, but you need to arm yourself with the ability to change. That is the most important thing that you as a growing young man going through Alliance High School can arm yourself with, because the knowledge that you pick up from the books and the teachers at some point will change. Right now there's the threat of everything being thrown out of the window because there's this thing that's called AI that has come up. Now you can be sure that in as short a time as it took AI to shake the world, AI is going to be replaced. So if you cannot change, then you run the risk of becoming extinct. If you cannot change, you cannot adapt, then you luck out in the world. You'll find that things will be moving on and you'll still be in the same place. So in all that you do, in all that you learn, the most important thing that you'll carry away with you is the ability to use what you're learning to change with the times as they change. Now, when you look at it, and John being a good example, an engineer who's now running one of the top banks in Kenya, what is it that he has with him that makes him a better banker than an engineer? What it is that he took what he has learned and he's able to take it as a practice rather than a subject. There are principles that are common in everything that you learn, that when you apply to your life, it makes you capable of doing everything. I think in engineering as well, they teach you something about costs and about finance. If you look at that, you can twist it and end up in a bank. If you look at any profession that you have, you need to be someone who's looking at going to the real depths and the real breadth of that profession that you have. I'll take an example of my own field. I am by first training a quantity surveyor. And if you ask anyone, including a lot of fairly experienced quantity surveyors, what does a quantity surveyor do? They will tell you that a quantity surveyor does bills of quantities. But that is just a small part of the practice of quantity surveying. At the point we went to the university, nowadays they call the degree Bachelor of Quantity Surveying. At the point we went to the university, we were called building economists. Now, that perhaps talks of the full breadth of the practice. We were building economists, so we talked about the cost in use of buildings, we talked about the life cycle costing of buildings, things that right now, if you ask me when was the last time I did any life cycle costing for a building, it's a long time ago. But yet there is need for those services in the industry now. So in whatever that you will find that you want to get into, as John said, at 14, 15, 16 years old, it is okay not to know what you want to be. What is not okay is for you not to take along the tools that will enable you to be anything that you want to be. That is the most important thing. You must take away the tools. When you leave Alliance High School after your 4 years, you must leave here with the tools that will enable you to be anything that you want to be. So you should not feel pressured right now at 16 years of age to say that I am certain that I want to be a doctor. Perhaps you don't know what it takes to become a doctor. You don't know that you have to go and dissect cadavers in Chiromo. So it is okay not to know what you want to do, but to arm yourself with the skills, with the knowledge that will enable you to do anything you put your mind to. And the other thing that is a constant in life is that whenever you get into that space where you're feeling that life is good, well, life will come and remind you that no, life is not good. So you need to find your joy. Find that thing that keeps you going. Find that thing that rejuvenates you. Even as you're in school here, is it that time you spend walking? Is it that time you spend sitting down with a friend and chatting? Is it putting on your games kit and going on a run? What is it that rejuvenates you? Because that is a constant. You're going to need time and time again. And I'm sure you feel it even now as you're preparing for the ones who are preparing for exams and the others who are going through their normal studies. Time and time again, you feel like you're running on empty and there's need for you to rejuvenate. So you need to be deliberate about finding something that brings you back up, that recharges you, that brings you back up to 100% so that you're able to take on things. And I agree with John. You need to make friends. And the best friends you'll probably find are in school. But then other than friends, you need to be deliberate about the rest of the people that you associate with. And it's a bit of a selfish motivation in that associating with people who are outside your group of friends for the purposes of learning things that you're finding hard to learn, for the purposes of growing your skills in a particular way. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you need to know to what extent that you interact with people and what you gain from them. If you interact with someone and it's not your friend and you gain absolutely nothing, then that's a waste of time, and time is a very finite resource that you have. It doesn't come back. Once it's gone, it's gone. So you'd want to be able to say that if I didn't learn anything, at least I had fun, and I know that perhaps where I came from, I've left a few friends, or I've left with a few friends. I think I'll also allow Watson, who shared the school at about the same time. He was unfortunate to come in when we had no rubbles for a year. I'll allow him to have a word or two.
Good evening. Thank you very much. AB. We used to call him AB. Absalom's Juma. Now, I want to take this opportunity to thank the principal for hosting us here, and my friend Gachora for inviting me to join him at this occasion, because it was a great opportunity to be able to reconnect with the whole school, and I acknowledge the presence of our senior most member, Engineer Mwita. As it has been mentioned, I want to be brief. My name is CPA Watson Karagathu, an advocate of the High Court, and my school number was 5029. And I do not want to regurgitate what my seniors, Gachora and Absalom Juma have said. But I want to make a few confirmations that one, indeed these two gentlemen here were in this school. That is very important, because you don't take it for granted that people will say that will accept when you say, I went to the Alliance, that it is factual. These two gentlemen were here together with myself. I saw them as my seniors in 1986 until 1989. That was just a few years ago. Is that? I hope that we do not dispute that. And I also confirm that engineer banker Gachora was indeed a young farmer, because in 1989 he was the secretary of the Young Farmers Club. Engineer Kangagi was the secretary, and I was a treasurer. What do I say? I also want to confirm, just make a few amendments, that Engineer Gachora was in Smith House for quite some time, but having lifted enough in Form 6, he came to be our senior dom prefect in Dom 16B. So although Smith House could be claiming some shareholding in Gachora, other house can also do that. Are we together? Now, just a few items to mention, to share with you. I've said my number was 5029, and that the year I left 1989 is not pretty reason, because my son, Collins Chege Karagathu, 12711, joined the school and left in 2021. Now he's at Jomo Kenyatta University. And of course you can see that I have an heir, and not one, I have 2 heirs and an heiress at a cross also. Now, what I would want to say is this. It's also a big blessing that you are here in this school. And as we say, you are here for 4 years. Others had the benefit of being here for 6 years, like my seniors here. But we say this, every minute counts. And we enjoyed our cross country here, Oroso. And it is true that I was a good runner then, and I was very fit. We would go to Dogoto, Mayahe, I think Agekambura, Ondiri, Karai, and come join this way. And one of my most hilarious experience was, I think in 1986, when we were doing the last cross country, we were starting just out here, I saw these fellows carrying a coffin, bedecked with flowers, and they came to the assembly. And you could imagine, those were whole Form 5 and Form 6 students, you know, mourning. And what were they mourning? The cross country, because they were taking their last cross country then. But then, as Engineer Gachora said, when you have an opportunity to be here at the Alliance High School and you can do cross country, believe you me, outside physics, you can run from here to the United States. How does that happen? There were students nowadays who are able to attend university games like in first year, and they'll be able to get scholarships at Iowa State University, Glasgow, and the other universities. Then we also had those who are studying French, which was, a specialty in the school. I am sure we have a number of students of French here. Do you have them? Do you have students of French here? Anybody, ça va? Merci. So, those who had the opportunity to learn French here would be able to take up the extra courses and be able to secure themselves scholarships in France, in Madagascar and other countries, and also acquire an extra functional language. I am sure the others who have studied German. Are there some doing German here? How many? Okay, that is very good. In our days, we also studied music. And I remember we would be taught how to sing. I see the band here. And we would be singing in the rehearsal for the inter-house competitions. I don't know whether you still sing. I am a broken-hearted milkman in grief I'm afraid, through keeping of the company of a young servant maid who was beautiful. There's a butterfly, So that was very musical then, and you can see I haven't developed a lot of rust. We say kupata kutu, because that is what Alliance made us, besides ensuring that we passed virtually in all the subjects. 844, I think we had 13 subjects, including all the sciences, all the arts, music, French, and the others. And we all passed. And we had good examples like of Gachora, who would do Backhouse 1, Backhouse 2, Camp 1, and Abbott. I don't know whether the books are still there today. Are they still there? In physics, in maths, and they would pass and pass very well. So the teachers then told us, you must pass in every subject. And that is why you find many old boys of the Alliance High School may be engineers in the morning. In the afternoon, they are bankers, like Gachora. In the evening, to let off steam. You know what that is? Again, they will be performing in some band somewhere, playing the piano, the organ, and the other, equipment. So that is what Alliance High School makes each one of us. And also the diversity of the school is very important, because I think you all agree with me. Maybe the person, your friend or your classmate next to you may be from an area that is diametrically opposite where you come from, isn't it? You have students from Nairobi, isn't it? You have others from, where? Marsabit. You have others from Mombasa. You have others from Narok. And that is the splendor that is created by the Alliance High School, because once you get out of this place, many of you will be scattered in the country and all over the world. It is very, very important that you are able to make a positive impact in all these areas. And I presume that the issue of tribalism has no roots here, isn't it? I am sure it has no roots here, because even in our days, it didn't have that. And that means you can interact with virtually everybody across the country, and even from other areas in the world, and make a positive impact. As I said, that time is limited, even for me here, and we have it this way. Time is not, we say what? Time is, you say what? Time is money. That is old school, and it's not Alliance. Time is not money. It is much more than money. Because these monies we have here will not be coming back to us, isn't it? I presume we are in Form 1, isn't it? 4 years will be a very short period here, and then you join us out there, and you should join the university and get skills and contribute in nation building. So please make the best use of your time. Gachora made a joke that you should sleep. You are the principal. I hope that I am not uttering a heresy here when I say that you should ensure that you organize your time so that by about 9:30 we have lights out for the junior school. And then by 10:15 you have lights out for the senior school. Like this gentleman would ensure that by 10:30 everybody would be in bed even though we are taking so many subjects. And then the following day, you would get up not earlier than 4:45 a.m. so that you don't disrupt other students. And you get organized, and then you can brew your coffee and come to the study areas, do your morning studies and then morning work. I hope they do their morning work. That is very, very important because, you know, those basic skills, even when you be looking for a job where I work or where these gentlemen work, people want to find out, do you do your morning work? Do you maintain a proper hairstyle? Can you clean up your shoes? I hope there are inspection parades. Those are small considerations, but it's very important that you get them as a part of your culture. Now, to summarize, to conclude what I'm saying, one, as I said, I work for the Kenya Wildlife Service as an advocate, as an accountant, and I would say that in many organizations, there are opportunities for attachment, internship, and exposure to some of the areas that you want to study in. Be it, in agriculture, in aviation, in the aviation industry, I hope that there is an aviation club here. Is there one? Yes, and if somebody told me now they want to come to the air wing and maybe be able to access information on the aircraft, although I don't run the aircraft, but I am connected because I have to review the work being done, the procurement, the repairs, the purchase of fuel. I would want one or two or three of you, like in the aviation club, to come over so that you can have interactions with the pilots and the engineers, so that you exactly get to internalize what is it to be a rotor system engineer, so that I can tell you what is the application of law in the aviation industry. Because again, what we have today is a bit old-fashioned. As you come into the industries, in employment, in banking, in aviation, in farming, in ICT, the circumstances are going to change, isn't it? So please purpose to interact with those of us who come around, and at the very least, you will be able to tap on the knowledge that we are giving you. Of course, in a structured way, channeled through the principal here, and the deputy principals and the other teachers. Then, my parting shot is, we have invested the time today, courtesy of the school and Mr. Engineer Gachora, to come and reconnect with you. It's always good to invest a bit of time in your networks, like we have said. I don't know whether you studied Things Fall Apart. Have you read that? Is it still a set book? It is this. When you spare time to come and be with you here, it is not because where you are, there is no electricity, isn't it? It's not because where we are, there is no electricity, isn't it? In Things Fall Apart, it is said that when men gather under a tree to share coconuts, palm wine, some water, it is not and do a bit of basking. It is not because where they come from there is no sun, isn't it? It is to interact amongst yourselves and with the teachers here. The teachers, I will talk like Trump. The teachers here do a great job, and we also our teachers like Mr. Kaeba, Reverend Welch, Mr. Bogo, they did a great job. It was a great job. And then also, remember to invest back in the school. I am sure we have like the chapel projects coming up, isn't it? We have needy cases here, some students who are very needy. I am sure at the individual level, and Mr. Gachora, I am sure the NCBA bank has a CSR, Corporate Social Responsibility Kitty, And I will not speak for him, but I am sure everybody or nearly everybody who have been to the Alliance would be able to invest some resources in improving the school and going into the future, improving the welfare of the students who come. After all, we were here and we got some very good chance to study here. You are here yourselves, and this, you are enjoying resources that were invested in by people in the past, isn't it? So when you leave the school, especially for the Form 4s, please don't fizzle away. Don't forget the Alliance High School. We have not forgotten. We shall not forget you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. My good friend Watson Karagadu and my other good friend James Absalom. Could you please clap for them? So I see a lot of people holding a pen and paper, yeah? You're looking for notes, isn't it? Don't worry, I'll give you notes. Is that okay? I'll give you notes. But before I do, I think often people wonder, what does a CEO actually do? Isn't it? What does a CEO actually do? So I'm the CEO of NCBA, and how do I spend my day? Very much, I would say, like your chief principal. I spend my day mostly supervising and directing people. In other words, we've agreed on certain things that we must do. As NCBA, for example, we've agreed we must open 10, 20 branches this year, isn't it? So often I have to review, where are we opening branches, how much are they going to cost, what customers are we going to serve, how are we going to serve those customers, are we recruiting the right people for that purpose, okay? I spend a lot of time with our large customers. We have some very large customers, people who make us money. I go visit them often to make sure that they know they matter. But NCBA is still a great bank. I do a lot of selling, as I said before. I sell a lot about NCBA. Why NCBA? Why should we bank with you? Okay? In my other life, I'm also the chairman of the Kenya Bank Association. So I do spend a lot of time talking about industry matters. Where's the banking sector going in this country? Spend a lot of time with government, talking about the future of banking. How do we support businesses? How do we support SMEs? And obviously spend a lot of time about making the careers of my people better. I spend a lot of time thinking about how do I make sure that people who work for us, people who work for me, have the opportunity in the future to be like me. I spend a lot of time doing that as well. It's not all about golf and drinks, as some people think, isn't it? It's hard work. I work very, very long hours, including weekends. I also do a lot of work deciding which clients we should lend money to, because lending, as you know, is easy. However, getting the money back is difficult. So I spend a lot of time deciding which clients we should lend money to. And the part of my job I don't like a whole lot is the money we have lent to companies that cannot repay. And you have to spend a lot of time chasing those companies to repay. And finally, when it comes to strategy, obviously we talk about things like M&A. We're looking which banks to buy, which banks are looking to buy us, what do we raise money from if we need to raise money. Talking to shareholders about our stock, how do we get our stock performance better for companies like mine, which is publicly listed. And then talking to a lot of people like I'm doing tonight. So that's what I do, okay? So as I said, not very different, I'm sure, principal, from what you do every day. You're the CEO of this institution. I'm sure if somebody asks you how you spend your day, that's what you say as well. But there are fun parts, the difficult parts. As I said, I was in China last week, just going to see, how banks in China are managing to serve billions of customers on digital channels. What is that they do well? Going to understand the kind of technology that they have, and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of things that I do. I also play golf for fun. I'm a terrible golfer, but I play golf. So I spend a bit of time to relax and spend time with family. I have 3 kids who are also better golfers than me. So I spend a lot of time taking them for golf competitions. So that's how I spend my time. So what are the key takeaways? I've talked about having fun. I've talked about sleeping. I've talked about those things. But what principles do I live by? What principles do I live by? These are, if you want to take notes, this is the time to take notes. The first principle is that you must work to create your own currency. And by currency, I don't mean money. If your name is Peter, there is a currency called Peter. If you're Uma, there is a currency called Uma. Who is Uma? It's what I talked about, the values. What are those values that you have? For me, some of the values I talked about already: honesty, integrity, ethical, but most important, being nice. Something that we all underestimate. Be nice. Be what? Be nice. Be nice to your classmates. Be nice to your dorm mates. Be nice to your neighbors. Be nice to friends at home. Be nice to people who go to those other schools. No other school, isn't it? Huh? Be nice. I know Alliance people were known for saying, I went to Alliance. Let's be nice. Is that okay? That's the principle number one that I live by. Number two, principle of hard work. Nothing in life will ever replace hard work. We're some of the best brains in this country. And there are many great brains in this country. But what makes a good brain from a fantastic brain is hard work. Okay? Put in the time. Nothing good comes easy. The gentleman you saw here speaking to us put in a lot of time. Okay? Hard work is another principle I live by. Personally, I work very hard. When I worked on Wall Street in New York, I slept on average 3 hours a night. And I remember on occasion when I worked for 56 hours straight. You know what that looks like? That means you go in the morning, you cut your desk, you sleep there, people wake up in the morning, they find you there, they go home, they sleep, they wake up and still find you there. Okay? Hard work. You take a lot of coffee to stay awake, but you must get things done. Other principle I live by is the principle of preparation. Prepare. You may see people giving great speeches. Our president is excellent at giving great speeches, but I can tell you he prepares a great deal. Your chief principal, I'm sure he speaks to you a lot. He prepares a great deal. Your teachers, when they come to class, they spend a lot of time preparing. You will always be better than the person who did not prepare. Okay? You will always be better than the person who did not prepare. So that's my other principle. I prepare. I take time. Anything I'm going to do, I prepare. When I'm talking to shareholders, I prepare. Don't appear unprepared. Take time to prepare. In your current circumstances, preparation means studying. Okay? When I was in Form 4, I was not a great student in chemistry. And I was, as I said, having done the first term exams, I did very well in many things, not in chemistry. And I went home, and that April break, I basically locked myself in a room and read the chemistry book from front to back. Everything that there was, things we hadn't learned, principles we had never been taught, I taught myself. I did not understand most of it, but I read the book. So that when I came to class, and the teacher is talking about it, he just packs up and says, oh, I remember that word. Okay, the best preparation for school is to read ahead. You don't have to understand it. Read it like a novel, even if it's a chemistry book. Read it like a novel, even if it's a physics book. Okay, you may not understand it. But when the teacher then teaches, what happens? There's something called subconscious, the sparks. You remember it. You heard about that theory. You read about it somewhere. You just didn't understand it. So now you're more curious to understand it when the teacher is teaching you. So preparation is very important. Fourth principle Be audacious. Be audacious. Dream big. Dream really big. As big as you know. As big as you know. And insist on it. So when I was fifth form, I once went to Nairobi with a classmate whom I shall not name. Went to Nairobi, we were registering for American SAT exams. So we went to Nairobi, we took a bus, went to Nairobi, went and registered. There was a place called Kagen House, that's where the registration was done. Once we were done, it was time to come back. And I told my friend, let's go wait for a bus, to come back to, and there's still 102, right? Come back to school. And while we were waiting there, he didn't say anything, but while we were waiting there on the road, a very sleek Mercedes-Benz pulls up. My friend jumps into the Mercedes-Benz and he says, what are you waiting for? Jump in. And I'm looking bewildered, right? So I get into this car. It was one of those, back in the day, Mercedes-Benz used to have curtains on the side, really beautiful, before the ones we see today. Get into the Mercedes-Benz, starts driving us to school. And I ask him, who is this? And he tells me, so waiting for a bus. I called my dad. And my dad sent the driver to take us to school. This was his dad's car. My friends, I never dreamt I'll ever be in a Mercedes-Benz. But I can tell you, by the time we got here at Alliance, I resolved that I should drive a Mercedes no matter what. That's the power of audacity, thinking big. And I can tell you, even if I did not become a bank CEO, I'd have driven a Mercedes, that I know. What dreams do you have yourself? What dreams? Little dreams. It doesn't have big dreams to be big dreams. But you must have big dreams. At Alliance, you get exposure. You see people who know more than you do, who have more than you know. You have sons of ministers. Learn from them, but be ambitious enough to say, I also shall be. How many of you want to be a bank CEO today? Come on, guys, after all I've done. None of you want to be a bank CEO. Think you should be a bank CEO in the future. I said want, not know. I said nobody should know what you are going to do. But do you want to be? You must be ambitious enough to think that you can be. Principle number 5, my good friend Absalom talked about, embrace change. Embrace change. Change is good. Change is good. Challenge the system. Change is good. Challenge the system. But hold on to your values. Be ready for change, but hold on to your values. Number 6, very quickly, it always can be done and it shall be done. That's Nelson Mandela who said that. You must believe the person to do that is you. You can do it. One of my principles is I never say I cannot do it. You never hear me say that. Anything I've been asked to do, I can do it. Any opportunity that came, I can do it. And I go home and prepare very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. When I was at MIT, a very quick story. When I was at MIT, one of my first jobs was working in a printing shop. And I was the delivery boy. So what I'll do is when the exams are printed or books are printed, I'll deliver them. At that time, you take what is equivalent to a wheelbarrow, and you basically push it around campus, delivering to various classrooms and various teachers or rather professors' offices. So basically hard work. You're just carrying. I hated doing that. I was a small man. I wasn't very strong. It wasn't my forte. And in one of those deliveries, I went into an office and I was delivering all these papers. And I find this office full of other students who are all working on a computer. And I just saw one of them who was my classmate, and I called and I said, what are you doing? She told me, well, this is the computer support center. This is where we support the whole school from. And all these students here, so these are, we employed here. And we are working as a delivery boy. Here is my classmate who is working in this computer store. It's called Computer Support Center. So I asked him, how much do you get paid? And I can tell you they were getting paid a lot more than I was getting paid. I said, what does it take? I said, you really have to understand computers. It was a year after I'd come from Kenya, hadn't touched a computer. Back then, computers were rare. We used to drive to Kabarak to see a computer. James, you remember that? We used to be driven to Kabarak High School to see a computer. So, what did I do? I went home, to my dorm. I took whatever little savings I had, went bought a computer. And for 2 months, I had sleepless nights teaching myself how to use a computer. And after 2 months, when I was doing my delivery, the same place, I asked to see the boss. And I went to the boss. Her name was Joanne Larrabee. I still remember. And I said, Joanne, I want a job here. And she said, do you know anything about computers? And I just rated all the things I had done over the last 2 months. I have done this, I've repaired my own computer, blah, 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 blah. I've even taught my house to program. And the next thing, I got the job. And I started working there. Okay? So, nothing cannot be done when you put yourself to it. You put your mind to it, you get it done. And if you don't do it, somebody will get it done. Lastly, is that everything you hear tonight, everything I've said tonight has been about my success. Isn't it? Told you about my success. You've heard about my success. You've heard about my colleagues, my friends, their success. None of us have talked about our failures. Do you think we have many? Do you think we have any? I can tell you, we probably have more failures than success. Okay? We will fail. We've talked about the jobs I've done. I haven't told you how many jobs I applied for where I was rejected. You heard I went to MIT. I didn't tell you what are the schools I applied to where we were rejected, isn't it? Failure is part of success, and we must embrace it. There's an American evangelist who talks about failure, and he says, failure is part of life, and you'll see it every day. But the most important thing is when you fall, make sure you fall on your back. Why? So you can look up and know that you can rise up. Okay? So you can do what? You can look up and know that you can rise up. So always fall on your back, but you will fall. Ladies and gentlemen in the room, I want to tell you that you're the best this country has. You're the best this country has. But you have many failures. You have many failures. Do not let your failures determine where you end up. Do not let your failures determine where you end up. Some of the smartest people in the world end up total failure because they don't understand the little failure they get, they must rise up. And some of the people who didn't do well in school end up becoming presidents. Okay? So whatever your score is in school, whatever your score is today, that is temporary. Aim high. Even if you're a D student, you can grow up to be the president. As we have learned from Donald Trump, ambition is the most important thing in your life. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our chief guests. Let us put our hands together in a greeting. Hold your horses if you have any. And we count from 3, then 2, and then 1. Okay, let's go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. Quickly. Thank you. You're good ones. And there's something we've read, and I don't want to write down everything that has been been said. I think the only person I've known for a long time is AB. I refer to him as AB. Absalom's Jura. I think it's over now 20 years. Yes, when I started as a referee, I found him on his way out, and I knew him with the likes of Roger, Kena, and the rest of the team at Kenya Harlequins. And that shows that we should combine your brain and brawn. With this population, I believe Alliance High School, as you have always insisted, we should conquer academically and in sports. Without further ado, now I'd like to invite the chairman of Junior All Boys, Mr. Nick Madhinge, who will also later on invite the school captain, Joshua Gachora, to give their respective make them brief. Nick Madhinge. Is there questions so that we can have our guests answer them? I just know on the side, from my side, any questions that you'd like to ask our chief guests?
Over there.
Okay, good evening Alliance High School. Good evening once more. Okay, my question is directed to Mr. Engineer. You've emphasized a great deal on values. But what I'd like to address is not the significance of values, but how we as a new generation, with very stark differences from yours, you see, in our world, or at least the world we are going to encounter once we are out of high school, is that compromise of these values is almost a prerequisite to get the kind of success that you now enjoy. So my question is, now, how do you strike a balance between personal ambition and the maintenance of these same values? And perhaps even after attaining material manifestations of success and all that, how do you find inner purpose in the pursuit of happiness in order to become a full man as you are today? Thank you very much.
Okay, three questions, and then from there you can answer them. If there is another question.
So, good evening. So my question goes to the speaker for today about those values. What if those values clashes with your age mates and classmates? What are you supposed to do?
That's a question. The union is a formal. Any other questions from this side?
Good evening, everyone. I remember it was on a Saturday when I said that maybe in 2099 we are going to have a robot principal. And I was really worried about artificial intelligence. I remember in Form 2 I started learning about computers. I learned a lot of coding, but none of it came in the exams. And surprisingly, it never comes even in the computer papers. So, my question to the speaker of today is about artificial intelligence. We can see that right now I have KCSE in 4 months. I'm forced to read about what people should read. But then I find that that's not what I want. You say honesty to yourself, but I'm not honest to myself. That's not what I want. You say dream big. I dream of running a multi-billion-dollar company. I dream of building a dynasty. But all that clashes with my academics. So right now I'm falling apart and maybe I don't know what to do. My question to the speaker is, please, please, and please, guide me because I'm falling apart right now.
Well, okay. Okay. No, thank you for those for those questions. I will try to answer them very, very quickly. One is that, let me talk a little bit about values. I think the two first questions were about values, compromising values. Yes, today we live in a world, especially I should say this world of ours, Kenya, where survey after survey shows that the youth believe that to be successful you must compromise your values. When a survey was done recently about careers, how are you going to make your fortune, for the first time, in the top 5 were 2 answers that puzzled everybody. One was corruption, entrepreneurship, and the other one was gambling. Yeah, it's a challenging time when it comes to values, and I guess that's why you're asking that question. But let me answer you the way I answer even my own age mates and colleagues who ask the same thing, who want bigger things in life, who want bigger cars, who want better houses, and they think that we should compromise our values. Yet, they're the same ones who complain about, potholes. They complain about bad education systems. They complain about corruption. They complain about bad governance. I keep reminding them, the whole world over was changed by a few good men. Changed by what? A few good men. And I use men here without gender meaning. It means man, as in woman, man. You know the way in the Bible we say the man? So it was changed by a few good men whose values went against society, whose values went against their classmates, whose values went against their age mates. There's a lot of temptation for shortcuts in life, and those will always be there. My time we have them, we had them. During my time here as CEO of a bank, I have seen a number of banks fail. A number of banks fail. A bank fails with people's money, people's deposits. And when we look deeply as to why those banks failed, some fantastic banks, the reason they failed was because the leadership of the banks did not have the integrity to realize that they're stewards of people's money. They took advantage of the money that was available that wasn't theirs to get rich quick. Don't be that guy. Do not be that guy. Insist on your values. You'll be successful even if you are rising against the tide. We come from a school that tells you to be strong to serve, isn't it? Strong to? Let that have meaning towards your life. Let's be strong to serve. Let's be a few good men. Are we okay? Will you be a few good men? Raise up your hand. you be a feel-good man? Thank you. Then you should have no trouble holding on to the values. So I hope I've answered both of your questions, yeah? You have to be one of the feel-good men. And also about your dreams. Being one of the few good men does not mean giving up on your dreams. It doesn't at all. Remember, in a country where everybody thinks being a corrupt entrepreneur is the best way to own a house in Karen or drive a Mercedes-Benz, that's a small thinking in my view. That's more thinking. I like to think like my friend who spoke last, who asked the question was, think bigger. There's Elon Musk who is running Twitter and Tesla, isn't it? Do you think Elon Musk is going to keep saying, I need to do something to drive a better car? He's thinking big, isn't it? The founders of Google, the founders of Facebook were not looking to do the next tender deal to have a house in Muthaiga. Yeah? Let's be the people who dream way bigger than a house in Muthaiga. Let's be that person. And if you're dreaming that high, you realize that you cannot compromise on your values because you need them together in life. Are we okay? Are we okay? On the question of big dreams clashing with academics, actually no, they go hand in hand. There is basic preparation that you must do in life. The basic preparation that we all must do is go through education. Yes, you read stories that Bill Gates was a dropout. You read stories, isn't it? He was a school dropout. But what they don't tell you, he dropped out of the best university in the world. He went to Harvard. Okay? That's what they don't tell you. And it was while he was studying, doing study work, that he developed what he developed, that today we call Microsoft. So he did not drop out. He just did a really good job in his subject of programming. Very clear. He just did a really good job in his subject of programming. The same with Steve Jobs. Exactly the same. You read that he also dropped out. But again, when you read about his story, he didn't wake up and say, I don't like school, I'm going to do something else. It was while he was at school, he was such a good student that he discovered something that he found could make him a lot of money. So academics and school are very important. When you're the best, you discover the next best thing. And the next best thing is what will make you money, isn't it? So all over the world, everybody is trying to get really good academics. Let's not be left behind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Any more questions? If you have any burning question, if there's a burning question that's outside what has been said. From the far corner? None. Over here? None. We only have these two questions, and then we will go to the next phase.
Good evening, Alumni High School. Last week on the 7th of June, I was reading an article in the newspaper. It was about Tom Gitogo and Kariuki Ngori, the Britain Group MD and CEO and Standard Chartered CEO respectively. They were telling how it is lonely at Bottom. Can you please tell us and prepare us this early how lonely it is at Bottom at your position and how we can cope with it in future? Thank you.
Keep it low.
Hello. Mine is a question of curiosity, personal. Doing a master's degree isn't something that takes a little time, is it? I'd say yours took about 6 years. Correct me if I'm wrong. Do you ever feel like you wasted that time? Do you ever feel that the time you took doing your master's degree?
Just wait up to this point, so that he can understand your question.
Sorry. It doesn't take a little time to do a master's degree. So do you ever feel like you wasted that time, that the time you took to do your electrical engineering degree could have used somewhere else better, because you seem so much in your depth now that you are working in finances, in, well, banking generally. Do you think you could have done better?
That's two questions. Final one? Yes.
So, good evening, the wealthy minds of this country. My question is to the CEO. I'm audible. Okay. My question is to the CEO of NCBA. We've heard many people say along the lines of I'll work until I drop, or I'll never retire. Sometimes it always works out, but not always so. We find that 20% remain employed by the time they are 65 years or above. Now my question is, what can one do, or what have you done to ensure that you secure your retirement, because you will retire at some point? How to secure your retirement once you retire, financially that is. Thank you.
I think those are enough. Then we can, yes.
So I'll ask my colleague, my friend here, to handle a couple of those as well. So before I do, let me take the first one. I think you asked how hard it is to be at the top, right? That was the question. How lonely it is. Yes, we say it's lonely being at the top. And I used to hear that. I didn't know how lonely it gets. But before I even comment on that, one of the things I wanted to also say is, when we were asked when we left, when we left Alliance, and we started in 1970s, came to 1980s, I noticed a lot of you thought that was such a long time ago. I can tell you, it is not. Feels like we were here just the other day, isn't it? Absolutely. Time moves very, very quickly. So just a few years ago, when I was in your seat, somebody was talking to us about careers and what they were doing. I thought, these are old men, I'm not listening to them. Or these are old ladies, I'm not listening to them. It comes very, very quickly. Okay. So when you get to the top, why is it that people say it's lonely? It is indeed quite lonely. And by that it means two things, or a number of things. But let me tell you one. The reason it's very lonely at the top, for one, is that everybody thinks they can do your job better. Do you understand that? Everybody thinks they can do your job better. I am sure in your dorms with friends, you always talk about how the chief principal can do a better job running the school, isn't it? Isn't it? Yeah? So who do you think the chief principal is talking to about doing a better job? He's lonely, isn't he? Yeah? That's what it means. It's lonely at the top, because everybody thinks they can do your job better. You're on your own. You're on your own. You're the one who's doing the worst job of everybody else. It's like I joke, I say, we all criticize our president all the time. This government, this president, this, isn't it? Huh? We all think we can be better presidents. Even hear us criticizing Trump and Joe Biden of the United States, as if we can do their job way better than they can, isn't it? That's why it's lonely at the top, because everybody thinks they can do their job better, meaning you're on your own. The second thing that I'll say is actually the real loneliness of the fact that you're so busy. Your own friends imagine you're so busy that they leave you out of fun stuff. Okay? That's the reality. They leave you out of your fun stuff. Sometimes I meet with my friends and they tell me, oh, we did this over the weekend, we had this party. I say, why did you guys call me? Why did you call me? I wanted to go to that party. Then they say, but you're always so busy. You're always too busy. So people leave you alone. Life becomes very difficult. Nobody is, which is perhaps why I play golf, thanks to engineer over here who got me into golf. Yeah? That is why it's lonely. But lastly and most lastly, is that the doctor who said when you're at the top, you're like a vending machine. A vending machine is that machine where you put coins or money and something comes out, isn't it? You know those vending machines? You put money, you get a soda, you get, what do you call it? You call it a loaf still, a booth. It's called a booth. I don't know what they call it now. Yeah? You get chips or you get something. You're a vending machine. People think when they come to you, you get something. I've got employees who come to me and say, I need this, I need a promotion, I need better pay, I need a bonus. I have customers who are saying, I need a loan, I need a better interest rate, change my relationship manager. I have landlords who are saying, please have a branch at my shop. I have government which is telling me, do this and this and this. I've got regulators who are saying this. I've got lots of people who are selling software who are coming to see me to buy software from them. And I've got lots of people who are saying, give me a job. And all of them expect that you have an answer. All of them expect you have that vending machine. They put a request, and it comes out. And that also goes to family. I've got relatives. I'm one of those very unfortunate ones whose salaries get published in the newspapers. Yeah? So you can imagine my family in the village, how many times they call. And if I tell them I have no money, what do they say? But we can see your salary. How can you have no money? Right? That's what they believe. Yeah? And not just family, you have friends in the village, people who you grew up with, who again was upping each other that article and saying, this guy, let's corner him, he's going to pay for my schools, for my kids' school, and so on and so forth. So that's the other reason why it's hard to be at the top. But finally, is that so many people want your job as well. So many people want your job. So everybody is watching will make one mistake, and there are people waiting to take your job. And the reality is a lot of people who can do your job. That's the reality. So you have to keep doing better than you did last year. Better than you did last year to stay at the top. So I hope I've answered that question. Why is it so difficult to be at the top? And the last one was about retirement. I say like Uhuru Kenyatta, I'm too young to retire. I'm just joking. You didn't get the joke, did you? You guys are harsh. No, but the reality is that all of us think about retirement, and we're all getting closer to that. So you make sure, just as you spend a lot of time working, you also spend enough time preparing your future. I spend a lot of time making sure at least the things that cost me the most, educating my kids, I give them the best education that I can, so that when I retire, at least I don't have that expense. And that is what your parents are also doing, trying to give you the best education they can give you now, so that when they can no longer make money, when they can no longer get paid what they get paid, they will not have the most important expense in life, which is taking care of your expense. Okay? But obviously you invest, make sure you save, make sure that you learn a lot about financial management, personal financial management, and then you learn from others. I talk to a lot of older men and women who have done these jobs before. You learn from them, network, get to know how they got where they are and how they managed to save so that their retirement is a bit better. So let me now ask James to comment.
Thanks, John. I'll perhaps take the second question, which was about whether you'd feel that you've wasted time taking a course that you're now not practicing. I think I did mention it a bit earlier that what you need to ensure that you gain from any bit of education that you're undertaking is that you carry with you the ability to change. And much as John studied engineering and he's now not practicing engineering, there are certain elements of formation that you get when you study a course to the level of masters that enable you to fit into a lot of different situations. So any time spent learning anything is not wasted, because your brain will never get full of knowledge, and you'll find at some point in your life that that knowledge will enable you to overcome something that you did not expect that you needed to overcome, and it will also enable you to chart a different course from the one that you're going when things change. And I think that perhaps is the biggest takeaway that you should have. When you find yourself out of school at the end of Form 4, and you're hoping to get into the university, and it takes a year or more to place you, take up something. Take up culinary arts, take up something, keep the brain active. Do not always think that what you learn must earn you money. What you learn is knowledge for you to keep, for knowledge for you to use. If you manage to use it to earn money, it's a plus. But being more knowledgeable, when you find a lot of knowledgeable old men in the village who are able to talk about a large range of matters, they're not making money from it, but they're happy because they're able to interact with a lot more people than they would be if they did not learn those things. Thanks.
Well, let us appreciate the three speakers. With any further questions, I thought you'll ask if the CEO can offer some internship programs for the outgoing Form 4 students. I thought that will come, yeah? I think maybe that's something that we need to think about, so that as once you clear your Form 4 and you have given us the necessary grades, talk to, maybe we can have one-on-one, sign for light with Madam Fidelis, and then we can have those students who are interested, and have a way in which we can sift the process and see who can maybe work in that respective area. Now, allow me now to invite Nick Madenge. Let us appreciate Nick Madenge. I am sad. I'm not supposed to be happy, but I am sad. I am sad. I have to admit it. It pains me too, and I've tried holding it in. As I stand before you today with a heavy heart, from deep within me there lies profound sadness. I am sad because one day the weight of this great institution will no longer echo with the vibrant voices. Sorry for that. As I stand before you today with a heavy heart, within me there lies a profound sadness. I am sad because one day the halls of this great institution may no longer echo the vibrant voices of the remarkable individuals who have graced these corridors. It's a somber realization that one day we may part ways, leaving behind the memories and the bond that we have forged here. As I gaze upon this sea of bright minds, the future leaders of tomorrow, I am filled with a sense of awe and inspiration. Together, we represent the beating heart of this institution, the school we love the most.
But let us not dwell in sorrow. Instead, let us embrace the beauty and significance of this moment. Let us reflect on the day, as all from us recall, the day we all joined Alliance High School. A cold and chilly day on the 13th of January 2020. It was a day that marked the beginning of an extraordinary journey, a journey that has shaped me and others in many ways we could have never imagined. Before that, my name is Nick Matenge, school number 13748. You can see how much I've gone. Grave House, Dorm 18A. GBC Chairman 2023. A successor to the short, great giant Emmanuel Njenga, a man I admire and respect. As I walked through the campus on that fateful day, the crisp winter air filled my lungs and anticipation danced in my veins. The grounds were adorned with delicate layer of frost, each step I took creating a symphony of echoes. In the eyes of my fellow students, I saw dreams taking shape, passions waiting to be ignited, and a community united by a shared purpose. Alliance High School, this sanctuary of growth, a haven of discovery, holds a special place in our hearts. It is here that we have laughed, cried, stumbled, and soared. It is within these walls that we have formed lifelong friendships and have learned invaluable lessons that extend far beyond the confines of a classroom. While the world may be filled with chaos of uncertainty, Alliance High School stands as a beacon of hope, a sanctuary where dreams are nurtured and aspirations take flight. It is a place where we are encouraged to pick up a book and a pen instead of a shield and a spear. For knowledge is our greatest weapon against ignorance, illiteracy, disease, and poverty. Today, as we gather here, I want to express my deepest gratitude to our esteemed principal for leading this institution with unwavering dedication and tireless commitment. Your guidance and vision have shaped us to the individuals that we are today, and for that we are eternally grateful. I would also like to thank our main speaker, Mr. John Gachora. Your remarkable achievements as an electrical engineer and a banking executive have set a shining example for all of us. Your journey from MIT to Wall Street and beyond serves as a testament to the boundless possibilities that await each one of us. Thank you for taking your time to inspire us and share with us your wisdom and insights. If I had time, I would share about how I always wanted to be an electrical engineer. I did electricity from 1 and from 2, but it never really got to work out. I don't know if I'll be a next CEO of a bank, but maybe, but we'll just see how life goes. Before I conclude, I want to extend a special invitation to all of you. Next week on Saturday, we have a unique opportunity to come together as a community and showcase our talents at the Bush Festival. This event not only allows us to demonstrate our skills, but also highlights the unity and diversity that make Alliance High School truly special. I encourage each and every one of you to participate and support to what you believe in. Let us shine a spotlight on our passions and make this an unforgettable celebration for our collective brilliance. We urge everyone to support our cause as we aim to decampaign, detest, abstain, eliminate, hate, and refrain from the use of drugs. Our spirit animal for this year is a lion. The lion signifies kingship. And in the words of Marcus Miller, even when the dogs bark, even when the dogs bark, even when the dogs bark, yes, indeed, the lion is still the king. As the boys cry, we men of Alliance should roar, that we should not only be seen, but also be heard. Let us be the lions of change, the warriors of knowledge, and the champions of compassion. To our esteemed alumni, I extend a special request. In the spirit of strong to serve, I implore you to consider sponsoring the Bush Festival. Your support, both financial and moral, will amplify the impact of this event and help us create a lasting change in the lives of the students. In conclusion, my dear friends, let us carry the spirit of Alliance High School within us, forever grateful for the remarkable journey that began on that cold, chilly day. Let us be the change that we seek to see in the world, knowing that the future rests on our capable shoulders. Together we can create a legacy that will endure for generations to come. Together, let us embrace our sadness, let us ignite fire within us, and let us create a legacy that will forever be remembered. For we are Alliance High School, a beacon of excellence and the school we truly love the most. Thank you.
Sam Kamau. Sam Kamau.
I would like to invite the school captain to give the vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening once more. Some people say that we live in a time when there are no heroes. I say that they just don't know where to look. Our chief guest is a clear indication that once you have the Alliance spirit, you can unleash the energy and individual genius of man to a greater extent than has ever been seen before. And we have to realize that no arsenal, no weapon in the arsenals of the world is as formidable as a young man from Alliance High School with values. Our theme animal for this Bush Festival is a lion, and lions do not fear impalas. We are Alliance High School. I believe in the Bush Festival, and I hope you can believe in it together with me. Thank you to our chief guest. You're welcome to come back again. Thank you. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for your thanks. So this being with us winding up, I'd like to ask everyone, I don't think we have some plans now, so that we can have the school landing, and then prayers will follow, and then from there, you, once the school landing is done, you will go back, remain seated. Then we have the school band, continue the music, as we allow the chief guests and the rest of the members to leave from this room. We allow you to keep this place and this one for the back, give some space. And now I invite the winner to come and lead us the school band. We can all be up and singing.
She's not the first speaking. The first was forward. After the Mr. Science and guests and the other two reflections. Remain standing as the chief guest leaves. And request for absolute silence. The band. The band. Now, let's get seated. Announcements, critical ones. Now,